Hello everyone, my name is Joel Kachi Benson, and I'm here to talk to you about my film, Daughters of Chibok. So in 2014, April 14th to be precise, we all woke up to the news of 276 girls being kidnapped from their hostels in school in the dead of the night. It was news that shocked everyone. No one thought it was possible. Of course, the government at the time denied the reports and said it wasn't true. And so between the conflicting reports from the government and conflicting reports from international press, a lot of people were sort of confused as to did this happen or did it not happen. But after a few weeks and the public outcry that followed the news of the kidnappings, the government of the day finally accepted and said, yes, this had truly happened. But even then, there were still a lot of conflicting reports as to how it happened. We could not wrap our heads around the fact that 276 girls were taken from their hostels in the dead of the night and no one stopped them. It was hard to understand that. And so for me, as a storyteller, I was always curious. I wanted to go to Chibok. I wanted to find out, did this truly happen in Chibok? But obviously, due to security concerns and the distance of the place, I could never go until 2019, when I was making a documentary on the origins of Boko Haram, and that trip took me through Chibok. And so when we stopped in Chibok in January of 2019, obviously my first port of call was to go meet the parents of these girls who had been kidnapped, to ask them, did this truly happen? And when we met them, we met a few of the mothers, we met a few of the fathers, and we spoke to them. It was quite obvious that yes, this had truly happened, and this was a community that was still in mourning 5 years on. And going by the things that I had seen in Chibok, I really wanted to put people in that space. I wanted them to experience what I had experienced, see these women, sit with them in their huts. And so using VR was the obvious choice to make. And we decided to go ahead and make the film. But obviously in making a film, you want to ask yourself, so why are you making this film? What's it about? What are you trying to say? And for 5 years, one of the statements that one of the mothers said to me was, in the beginning, it seemed like everyone cared, but now the world has moved on and we're still here. That statement haunted me for a while because it was so true. If you remember, just a few months after the kidnap, we had everyone from music superstars to world leaders, everyone had the hashtag bring back our girls. Well, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, we've all seemed to have moved on, to different things. Between 2014 and 2019, 33 parents have died as a result of trauma caused by the loss of their daughters. Most of the pain is borne by the mothers who live in abject poverty and still have a lot of mouths to feed. And so when she said that, my decision was then to say, you know what, we're going to use this film to not just draw attention back to the issue of the Chibok girls, but also to use it as a vehicle to raise support for the mothers, so that they could at least have just a slightly easier life. So after making the film in March, the first time we showed the film was on April 14th, 2019, to mark the 50th anniversary. And it was sort of like a semi-public viewing. We just used a couple of public spaces and showed it to a few people. And the reaction was, wow, it feels like I just went to Chibok. And for us, that was really, really important because it was no longer a distant story for the people who saw it. It was more close and personal. And then we sent the film to the Venice Film Festival, where it subsequently won the Venice Lion for Best Immersive Story. And after that, it's been to a lot of film festivals across the world and drawn a lot of attention. But what has been most impactful for us, really, as a filmmaking or a storytelling team, is the results that we have gotten from this film. So in the first instance, for 10 years since Boko Haram started to terrorize Chibok, they've not had power. But as a result of this film, someone saw the film and decided to donate portable solar kits to 120 homes in Chibok, so that the women who still have kids that are in school can have energy. The kids can be able to read at night. And that for us was really, really impactful. It was proof of the power of this film to move people from empathy to action. We were also able to get support for the women so that they could get improved seedlings and fertilizers for their farms and improve their harvest. And that way empower them to be able to take care of their other children and send them to school. Also, we were also able to take one of the parents from Chibok, one of the mothers of the girls, for the first time ever that any parent would leave Chibok and go to the United States. And we took her to New York to the UN headquarters, where she was able to meet with the UN Under-Secretary General and the Executive Director of UN Women. And basically what transpired at those meetings was that commitments were made so that psychosocial supports and therapy would be given to the women in Chibok. All of this could not have happened, or would not have happened, if we hadn't made this film. And I think that in so many ways, Daughters of Chibok has proven to me and the rest of my team that, hey, look, virtual reality is truly a powerful, powerful tool to move people from empathy to action. And in the coming years, in the coming months, we will be telling similar stories like this, where we can use VR as a tool to impact change in communities and amplify the voices of people who ordinarily would not be heard. Thank you very much.